just get right to it. Joining us right now from somewhere around the world, it is Mike from around the world. Well, let's try that again. Mike, can I hear you?
Pastor Paul!
Yes!
You got me.
I got you, Mike. How you doing tonight? How you doing?
Doing pretty good. It's good to hear from you.
It's good to be here. Good to hear from you, and hope all is well. You sound good. You sound energized.
Yes, I'm not around lunatics.
So, how did you manage that? Are you on some isolated island somewhere?
Well, this is just filling up. The world is filling up with lunatics.
Oh, why don't you help us understand? What do you mean by lunatics, Mike?
Well, it's insanity. It is insanity. Just listening to what the populace wants and what they're willing to do and what they're doing. What are they doing?
Well, Mike, look at the poll. We'll start with this. The poll that says AOC is leading now for the 2028 presidential at 21%, and then it's Gavin Newsom at 17%, and then it's some guy named John Ossoff who doesn't hold a position anywhere, and the guy's all over the lot on what he thinks about stuff. Then it's Kamala Harris. So, What are they doing? We got communists, we got radical Islamists, we got all kinds of different people. We got lunatics, is your word.
Lunatics. I mean, they're taking over. They're taking over. Unfortunately, they're taking over. It's a clear indication of what we face during the next election. We are here. Oh, it doesn't stop there either. I mean, it goes pretty deep.
What do you think about the midterms coming up here? Are we going to see a shift in power, Mike, or how do you think that's going to shake out?
We will. Well, there are too many people in Iowa. Iowa's a dead giveaway. Their opinions matter, and they can represent the rest of the body. And in Iowa, believe it or not, they're leaning towards the unknown. They've never done that before. There are people in Iowa who would vote to the right no matter what. Now they're leaning in the other direction, right? Because they're concerned about what they don't care about promises.
No.
They care about what is, and they can only see where it's going, right?
Yep,
and it's not working where it's going.
No, it's not.
But it should really let all of us know that this is not a one man can fix the issue.
Nope.
Washington is controlled by groups of people, right? Not just a few people, but groups of people who have opinions and plans. And if we don't intercede, you know what, Pastor Paul, I'm telling you what, I tell you why I'm energized is because if there's never been a clearer indication that God's children, their voices have to be heard.
Amen. Amen.
Prayer is awesome, right? But faith without works is dead.
That's right. In other words, you're saying
we can see the result of that.
We got to believe, but we got to go out. We got to get out and vote, but we got to get out and start spreading the word. I mean, we can't just sit back and complain, right?
That's right. Because think of it this way: people have prayed. They have prayed, but there are things that God has enabled us to do, and we have to exhaust everything He enabled us to do. God's not going to tie our shoes. He won't do that because He gave us the ability to tie our shoes. Amen. That's an example. Amen. Well, if we have an ability to write letters, if we have an ability to organize speeches, sermons, whatever we have to do to let the world know, hey, we're heading in the wrong direction because we have left our first love.
There you go.
We have left the core of what America is, and it's not going to be America until we get back to the core. We cannot be a country without the Father. It's not going to work.
Amen. And you're right. I mean, we got to do more than just complain about it, pray about it, and sit back and watch about it. We got to do something about it. And to your point, write letters, make phone calls, flood the organize.
That's right.
Because I can tell you, the other side is That's what they do. They organize.
That's
They don't
right.
even have a message, but because they can organize, they can throw out anything and it'll stick on the wall. And that's what's making a very dangerous situation developing in our country. Speaking of things a little dangerous, Mike, can we talk about the USS Abraham Lincoln situation? And I understand the USS George Washington is going to come to relieve them, but the 7 months at sea without ever getting to a port, what does that? I mean, what does that do to a sailor? I mean, you know.
Well, prior to going into this conflict in the first place, there was a bit of confused morale, right? You have some pretty zealous soldiers out there, yes, but some of these sailors, when they're out on mission, right, they don't see home for about 7 months anyway.
Yeah.
Some of these sailors, they don't see the light of day for months. Do you know that? They're not allowed on certain decks of certain boats. And so that's not very healthy.
No.
It's not very healthy. Many of them, they miss their families. Many of them don't know their own children. And, you know, they're loyal to the country, but at some point, that takes a toll on you.
Yeah.
But the worst thing is this. I know they're going to cover in the public media. They'll likely go and talk to the sailors and cover morale and ask them questions. But one of my major gripes is that when these soldiers see the fighting, the infighting in Washington, that just takes the morale out of you.
Yeah.
Because some of these soldiers do not know what they're fighting for.
Amen. Amen.
Right?
Amen.
And when you have these conflicted messages, it's like a child seeing their mother and their dad fight every day. That's a broken home.
Yeah.
And so you have soldiers with that same disposition. So, of course, you're going to have, the stats say that suicide goes down once deployed. But see if this makes sense. When they're at port and when the soldiers are going out, suicide is at, say it's at 50%, right? Or let's just say 50, let's give it a point number. When they go out to sea, that number drops to about 30 points.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But see that they're trying to cover up data points. What it means is normally in the armed services, when you deploy to any combat situation or hazard situation, it is discouraged to go on sick call for the Army, to go into, see this person and that person, but to stay on mission. And so something else has to be uncovered to truly reflect those numbers. I don't believe it's a reflection upon the Department of War. I don't believe that. I believe that the mixed messaging is at the heart of it. Because if a soldier knows they're going home, right?
Yeah.
And they have positive leadership, and they know they're going home, that can do them another 7 months, right? That can energize them for 7 months. But when they have no idea what they're fighting for, what the end game is, or they don't know how long they're going to be there, that can drain a soldier. And of course, those are disparaging thoughts they begin to have. I believe that's what's happening.
I think, Mike, you hit the nail on the head, that the fact that in Washington, D.C., between the two parties, all the bickering and complaining and fighting and scratching and arguing, and the media helping fuel the flame, the soldier says, what are we doing? Because there's not a clear message. As long as there is a united front of what we're doing, the soldiers are very loyal. American soldiers are extremely loyal to the nation because they are all a volunteer force.
That's right.
Nobody drafted them. These guys and gals made the decision themselves, and they don't care to put their life on the line for this country. But they got to know what in the world we're doing, and what we're watching in Washington is absolutely a farce. I mean, just watching Fauci on the stand is enough for me to say, what am I fighting for this country for when nobody will tell the truth for nothing? I mean, and what about Fauci? I mean, what about him? What about Fauci?
Fauci, I'll tell you something. He's like the doorman of some very bad people, right? I'll say this. This is controversial. In time, no one's going to look at Fauci. How about that?
Wow.
No one's going to talk about Fauci. There's some real, just people there who have no feelings, no heart, no anything. They're like robots, and they have done some things, Pastor Paul, that are just, they're cruel. What they need to do is what they will do. They're going to trace the approval authority on many of these projects. They're going to trace the necessity behind these projects. They're going to find who they're looking for. And no one's going to talk about Fauci. Fauci may be responsible for certain things. He's a public figure. He's a face. He's a stamp, right? Yeah. On a folder containing some dark things. But he is by no means the heart of it, right? Even if they got rid of Fauci, right now, it's not going to change anything.
No, you're right.
It won't. And I believe that's part of the issue. If I could briefly bounce back to the armed services,
right ahead.
Back in the beginning of the 80s, the soldiers were not engaged in the news. During the 80s, all the way up until probably about 1990, they really weren't engaged with the news. And so it was a much stronger force. And during the 90s, during the first Gulf War, right, the Persian Gulf War, they allowed reporters in to see everything that was happening, and they reported on everything. Of course, they were kicked out by by command. Reporters were, which saved a lot of time. But they persisted. Reporters did. They got back in there with the other wars that followed. When they did this, they started to report on things that normally happen in war. They didn't understand how there could be a casualty that had nothing to do with the war, right? You have casualties of war.
Yes.
And so they began to ask for accountability. They made the public stick because in blowing up of some base, somebody's house would get blown up in the process, right? That was innocent. And so what they did was they riled up the people, and the people wanted accountability. So from that day forward, it became a very sticky process to go to war. You had to watch everything. There were persecutions happening in the armed services. There were people who had to take the fall for, wrong calls or maybe a misfire, something like that. So it became real sticky. Nobody wanted to fight. Nobody did, because they were prosecuting too many soldiers. As of late, the same headhunting type of practice by the media, because media, and now I don't say this against them, it's at them. They have an ignorance when it comes to war. War is not it's not something that you do, that you engage in, that's going to be perfect. It's just not. When you go to war, there are going to be casualties. And when they call for the heads of U.S. soldiers who have volunteered to serve their nation, and other military folks who have done the same thing, and when they call for their heads because they heard about some misfire, some friendly fire, something like that, that destroys morale. Right?
Yeah, you're right.
Then you have soldiers now with social media who are engaged in all the news. So when you have one soldier talking about the Democrats, you have another talking about the Republicans.
Yeah.
They're serving in the same unit, but now these two soldiers are at odds, right? Because they have two different ideologies, and because their leadership is fighting against each other. They now back their respective leadership individuals, and so they have no peace. So it's just a bunch of disorganized,
confusion,
emotional weights that they have to carry. Then when they go to fight, there are mixed messages. For example, we need to engage Iran so that we don't have a nuclear war in the future, right?
Exactly.
But then you have the other side that says, well, there was never going to be a nuclear war. Why are we doing this? You're wasting time. So when a soldier hears you're wasting time, then you're having a nuclear war. That's bad for them. But it all begins at leadership. And now what you have is you still have reporters who are pushing a different narrative. They're trying to stir, because people like drama, right?
Yep.
It's bad to say this, but normal news will never, get you, people are not going to watch that. They're going to watch drama. They want drama. They want some exciting things, something they never heard. And these organizations know this. So as long as they're getting paid, they're going to push the drama stew. And everybody's going to get drama stew. Where they can't find it, they're going to make it up. Or they're going to make drama out of something. For example, Trump moving to another aircraft. Why is that news?
That's not news. Why is that news?
Why is that not simply common sense? And why did the media report on that in the first place? I have an issue with that. You don't report on things like that. As the president of the United States, regardless of who they think the person is, or that represents our nation. And that should be the number one person that should not fall at all, because if he falls, that will destroy our military's morale even further and cause something else we don't want. But they report on that like there was an issue, right? Because he tricked everybody else, but he also tricked them. They get offended. Well, we should know where he is all the time. No, you should not.
No, they shouldn't.
You should not.
Well, Mike, they can't. We can't trust them. So this is why they don't get to know where he's at. And anyway, how are you going to protect the president if you're telling everybody and his brother what he's getting ready to do and what plane he's on? I mean, this was a serious threat. Was it a serious threat, Mike? I mean, obviously it had to be. They wouldn't have been shifting him to 3 planes.
There are serious threats at home. And there are serious threats overseas, right? And here's the bottom line with this. If the media knows, then the enemy knows. So the media is not privy to information before some move like that of POTUS. Why should they be privy to it? Because they're going to talk about it if the enemy finds out, and all of a sudden missiles start going in that direction.
Right.
So they shouldn't know.
No.
They should have that common courtesy. But this is why I say that, it's insanity. They act like they really do act like they should know.
I know. Well, let me ask you that while we're talking about the Middle East and we're talking about the military here a little bit, what is the plan? I mean, the president's trying every way in the world to stop a nuclear war, to stop Iran from using nukes or getting their hands on them. And that is not just them creating them themselves, but that's them getting their hands on them from one of the other whether it be China, Russia, or someone else. So having that in, what do you think the president is going to try to do going forward? He wants to negotiate with people, but they're not rational. They'll never negotiate. What do you think is going to be the plan? There's got to be a plan B or C here on how to deal with Iran?
Well, there is, but Iran, as I said before, if people haven't figured this out by now, Iran has plenty of surprises. They have a more robust infrastructure than previously thought. If they were not such a big deal, all of this would have been over by now. So this is a direct communication that Iran has. They have a hardened facilities throughout Iran. It's just not one, it's a few. But you have to be sure about what you're doing, because they're very clandestine when it comes to their underground facilities. And of course, there's always something new being found out with Iran. It also means that everybody did not have proper intelligence on Iran, right? Yeah, I mean, clearly they underestimated just how resilient they are.
Yeah.
Right? So we're still doing our... It is sad to say this is costing us a lot of money. We've hit them with just about everything, and they're still doing the same thing, right? So there's going to be a change in strategy. The populace will demand that, so will the situation itself. But the outcome is going to be the same. Nobody is going to change the outcome. We have a country that is spiritually tainted by a real darkness, not fake darkness, but a real darkness. And so long as they hit them and disperse things in Iran, they're just going to spread out and infect other places. Iran, their ideology is like a disease. It's been adopted in various parts of the Middle East. It's been effective. It's becoming a problem here in America. There are things happening in America that they don't want to give credit to terrorists. so they're not going to name it as such, but there are things happening here that are from them, right? Things that they're not announcing on the news as terrorist activity.
Yeah.
Right? They're being careful about that because you don't want your enemy to know that their plan succeeded in certain ways. But we've had more mishaps since since that tension with Iran began to build up. Plenty of things have happened here, and it's only a matter of time before a few of them are quite effective, right? They've been probing us big time. I mean, big time. They have AI agents probing us, and it doesn't matter who you are. You're not going to defend yourself against an AI agent that can replicate itself unless you are some sort of an agent programming guru, right?
Yeah.
So we've had some utility mishaps, not just the water, but some other utility mishaps. They know that there are people within this country that have been attempting things or planning something, right? So yeah, there's going to be a change in strategy. It's going to demand, Pastor Paul, an extreme move forward. It will. It just will. But it will, once they get this established, it's not going to be a conquering of anybody. It'll be more like a division of ideologies down a very clear line. And this is when the real problems begin. So imagine, Pastor Paul, a dissolved type of world where politics is phasing out and something else is moving in.
All right.
Right?
Yeah. Well,
when this happens, people from one country are going to uproot themselves and go to another, right?
Yep.
Because they will take down certain borders. They will have other agreements. And any countries who don't want to, they don't want to participate. They're going to be isolated from some of the main, those main economic wealth of the world, let's say, because we're going to see a change in some powers. We're going to see a change, a severe change in ideologies. America is going to have to face its own issues. We also have, I still believe they're timing this to a problem we have with the earth itself, right? But a severe change will most certainly come. It's not going to be the end of the world. No, nothing like that. It'll just be a change in how we see each other.
Well, Mike,
right?
let me, as we're talking about that, how we see each other, there's two things we want to talk about. One is $40 trillion in debt.
Yeah.
There's no plan to get rid of the debt. The plan must be to tear down the house and just rebuild. I mean, are we talking about the Great Reset here? And if we are, how close is that from being the implementation of that, or are we already watching the implementation of that?
Pastor, the system so far, it is embedded. It's changing right before everybody's eyes. It's not something that one would readily identify.
Yep.
Right? So it's going to be one of those situations where we all wake up one day and we see a massive change in how we do things. And that's how we're going to do it going forward. It'll be so quick and sudden. It'll be almost inescapable.
Will it be global?
Right?
Will it be global, Mike?
Oh, yeah. Because we stand apart. America stands apart right now. But I have to tell you, the other countries are putting everything into place right now. They have been for some time, right? They have been for some time. There's a rush right now for the containment, I'll say, of a certain type of AI agent. Containment, not so much the launch. It's already launched, but they're working on containment. Night and day, 24 hours a day, they're working on containment. They're also reestablishing how our systems work for the purpose of containment. Once these agents continue to unmask, because AI is not like any other industry, okay? Instead of a person seeing progress month to month, right? The first month is true work, AI is developed, the agents are developed. The next month is they implement a few things, right? The next month, the whole system has grown by a year. The next month, the whole system has grown by 3 years. The next month, the whole system has grown by 20 years. You see how they go? So it's an exponential trend and advancement, just like that. And it's unstoppable, right? Because agents, AI will not slow down for us. It's not. And it already has access to quite a few things. And it's always surprising people. Some of the experts with AI, and I mean the experts, say we have about one and a half months left before we see all the signs of a sentient AI. How about that?
Wow.
1.5 months left. And they're not, these guys are not, they're not,
now, when you say
they're not, these are not talking points for that.
Now, these Ascension AIs, have they already been released and they're just gathering their own?
Yeah, they're out there.
Okay.
They're building, they're gathering. Here's the problem. Just like OpenAI, just like Facebook's AI, just like Elon Musk's, his AI, an AI system, right, can build itself and no one will ever know it. It can grow beyond imagination and no one can track it. It can divide itself into too many systems and then reassemble at will, right? So that means it could disperse itself throughout every system it can contact. Right now, Chat GTP, right? Say if everybody had that on their systems, it could disperse itself along everybody's PC, right?
Yeah.
Now, that's nothing because it's only like 100, maybe 100 megabytes of data. But then all of a sudden when it needs to, it can assemble in less than a second, right? And then process a massive calculation. This is how that works. So it's very difficult. It's almost impossible to track the growth of AI. And anybody who says they can control the growth of AI, they've already lied. Because all the experts, the engineers, not the people who work with the agents. Those are not the experts. The experts are the ones who built the things in the first place, who did the machine code, right? Those who do the machine code for AI, those who configure the architecture for AI, those are the experts. The rest are simply operators, right?
Gotcha.
To use an agent, that's just an operator.
Yep.
But the AI itself, the neural networks and all that, these things are growing. And every data center that comes online, right, it's just going to increase its capacity.
Let's talk about that. So these data centers are being built all across America in massive amounts of them, which requires in trillions of dollars of U.S. taxpayers that's being in capital that's being funded into this, not just our tax dollars. I mean, big businesses are spending capital as well. And the question's going to be, can they build these quick enough and get them operating and bringing revenue fast enough to cover their capital cost? If
they're not looking at revenue. They're not even looking at revenue.
So there's going to be a new system. A great reset's going to happen. This 40 trillion, it could be 50 trillion, it could be 80 trillion, it doesn't matter. There's a day coming when the slate is going to get wiped clean and a recalculation, a revaluation of property, of money, of precious metals, of crypto, of everything. Am I right? I mean, and is AI the one going to do this?
Well, the debt is so large and the numbers are so staggering, right? It's outside of the realm of most people who think about money, number one, right? So money is going to have to go to a new point system anyway.
Yeah.
Of course, our current economy was established after World War II.
Yeah.
It's been going ever since, where the dollar kind of reigned and all that. Well, all the other countries have leveled this out, right? They've leveled everything out. With this new system in place, everybody is ready to start acting on it. After the population goes down a little bit, it'll implement itself. But we're gonna have a pure digital system that manages everything else. So imagine a person still has you'll have your money. People are going to have their money. I'm telling you that now, because we could go $800 million trillion in debt and still operate, right?
Right.
That system is bookkeeping. That bookkeeping really does not control all the resources. There's a cap on what it can actually affect, right? So it's more of a regulation system, right? An agreement system is what the current system is. The digital system is far beyond that. It is accurate. It accounts for everybody in the world. This is going to trip everybody out. They have already allocated funds for everybody in the world, right? Now they say viable people in the world. They've allocated funds, which means that, remember that universal income thing?
Yes, I do.
People are going to go from having hardly anything to being sustained.
Right.
Really sustained. The difference is going to be this. With a digital financial system, you can see everything, right? That means you can see every problem with everything. Passball is accurate, so it'll hit the medical system. It'll hit the food system. Food and medicine are going to go together, right?
Yeah.
They're going to be tightly managed. Most of the medication you may not ever find again. Some of the foods you may not ever find again, right? So people will have they'll have the ability to get this and to get that.
It sounds like centralized food distribution and centralized medical support is, in other words, federally controlled or even globally controlled.
I think it'll be more globally controlled than anything else, right?
Yep.
And I believe that it's almost like a ration card, right? So if it doesn't matter how much money you have, with a ration card, you can only have so much per person, right? So that's what's going to level everything out. And with AI, even right now, the simulations have been done on that. The management of that is precise, is accurate. If they were to flip everything over to that system right now, they could do it. They could do it right now. The only thing missing is a bioprint for each person. And with some of the newer technologies, it's a roll mark, or actual roll mark. So you know how in the old days they used to take that little roller print thing and print a signature or something like that, right?
Yep.
The same thing can be applied to your skin. The only difference is there are different materials with whatever they're putting on your skin that absorb in your skin, but it never leaves. It's permanently there.
What?
Yep.
So it's almost like, it's like a tattoo.
It's not even intrusive. It absorbs into the top layer of your skin, right? It'll bond, so you're not going to get it back off again. Once you have that, the system can pick up those chemical sets within you, and there you are. You're identified. So chemical identification of an individual with a bioprint is impossible to duplicate.
Yeah. So in other words, we don't have to have a microchip. They can do it with this tattoo material.
That's right.
That's chemically inundated upon the skin or on the forehead, wherever they want to put it, and and it's also linked to your bio footprint. And that bio footprint could be your date of birth, your social security number. That's no big deal. It's your irises, your DNA, your
bone structure, all that.
Yeah, facial recognition tied to the stamp.
That's right. That's right. Because people will ask for a system here shortly. They're not going to want to use passwords ever again. They don't want to.
No,
they're not going to want.
They want a foolproof way. And that may be how that global. This is the Great Reset. The Great Reset has 1 million different reasons that needs to be done. Is what the world's going to think. No more. We're going to be told no more wars, no more hunger, no more homeless, no more going sick. Everybody's going to have sustainability. Is that what we're going to hear? Is that kind of the message?
Yeah. You know what I think that'll be? Because think of it this way. We're already at war with Iran, right?
Yeah.
The war's going to escalate. It'll escalate. Okay. It's going to flow throughout the Middle East.
I'm writing that down right now. That's big. That's a big news right here.
Yeah, it's going to escalate. It's going to trickle out. It's quick. Even right now, these faith pieces are popping up all throughout the Middle East, right? So there's a type of radical devotion taking place between Muslims and everybody else. Many are already talking about the world as though it's under Muslim rule. Now, this is fairly new. This is fairly new. So when you see, I can't name any countries, but when you see them and they have a library of how to run the world, right? How to construct the nations and everything else based off the Muslim religion. Okay, we have really changed in times, right? The times are not the same. And for some reason, there are too many nations that have, like this weather phenomena that we're having.
Yep.
And they're trying to gently give it names. They're giving it excuses, like, Super El Nino.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
That's an excuse. That's my opinion. That's an excuse. These things, it's forming. They're going to run out of names to justify what's happening. They're trying to keep the fear level down. They have to give some sort of something,
Mike,
right? So people have something to anchor to.
Noah has just said that there's a 95% chance that a massive storm will hit California in this season due to Super El Nino. 95% chance that California's going to get hit with a typhoon or cyclone or hurricane or whatever you want to call it. So are you saying that's the kind of thing that they can't hide it forever?
No, they can't. They know it's just beginning.
What does that mean, Mike? Why would there be a
it's just
storm?
beginning.
Can you help us understand that? Why would there even be,
They know the conditions of the earth. They know that the lower atmosphere is hotter than it's ever been before. They know the oceans are hotter than they've ever been before. They know that most of the ice has shifted, right? Yeah. They know that the North and South Poles look very different than what they did. They know things like Lake Mead is drying up completely. They know all these things. They know the repercussions. They know that the average storm is every storm we've had, there have been people died during these storms. Every rainstorm, every storm we've had, somebody died during these storms. The other day, rain fell, 3 inches fell in a half an hour. I didn't see that anywhere. I didn't see it anywhere on the news. No. In fact, there are a few things I haven't seen anywhere on the news, right? And so we have these events because the lower atmosphere is holding a lot of moisture, right, when this forms. And the oceans are driving this. They can call it whatever they want, but the ocean waters heat up, they evaporate, hit the lower atmosphere. The lower atmosphere is also a bit warmer, so it can hold all that moisture, and it drops it inland. Simple as that. Right. It goes up, condenses, and falls.
In Stark County, Indiana, where my dad's church is, and we're going to be having that meeting coming up, it rained 2 days ago. It rained 6.5 inches of rain in 18 hours. 3-inch hail fell, and 71 mile an hour straight line winds. The entire county lost power. Entire county, and it was nowhere on the news.
Yep.
This is huge. It's never before ever happened.
And we had a storm that started from the northern places of America to the southernmost places, and it swept through one storm. The storm they said was impossible, right? So now we're going to have to face this. It will eventually build up. The USA will be covered by a storm, right? This is going to become common and scary for a lot of people. Period. But then we're going to see, when you see nations covered by storms, right? That's when it's going to become real for people. Unfortunately, it's going to be too late, right? It's going to be too late. If 4 years ago I talked about these storms, that was the actual time to do something about them. You can't do anything about it now, right? I already knew that. Conditions, the closer you get to these things, you can't really maneuver like you used to. And so that's why you see a lot of people building. They're actually lifting their homes 25 feet above sea level, right? A lot of people are doing this now because they know what's about to happen to the oceans. They know about some of the earthquakes they're expecting, which are going to cause these tsunamis to come in that affect just about everything, right? These are, they're not really predictable either. The these things are predictable, but where they're going to happen, you can't predict that. How devastating they'll be, you can't predict that. So we see a buildup. It's a clear buildup, and it's not going backward, which brings in another problem. This winter, I believe this winter could be a real struggle for some folks. There's nothing that can be done about it except that people really begin to understand how to keep themselves warm if it gets cold, right? And of course, how to keep themselves, fed if they can't get anywhere. Just like at the beginning of the year, I told people to make sure they know the exits out of their towns. This winter, before this winter hits, hopefully they have some dry food, right? Some dry food stored up somewhere, just in case they can't get out, just in case the trucks can't travel. Because if we have this moisture,
snow and
Pastor,
water
if we have
and flood.
Yes.
Okay.
The same moisture, 6 inches of rain.
Yep.
You know how much snow that is?
Oh, that's like
That'll stop the city.
5 or 6
right?
feet. Yeah.
Yeah, that'll stop the city. And if it's that heavy, dense stuff, which it will likely be, it'll be there for weeks. And that's not going to be it's just not going to be good.
Mike, the people listening to this broadcast right now are wondering why. The question that they're saying is, okay, Mike, we see, because you've brought these things up over the period of time, and they've all come to pass. That you'll say something one day, we'll see this. It might take 3 years, it might take 5 years, but here it is. Now they're going to ask this question, Mike, why is it happening? Can you, without breaking classified information, can you share with us some indication of what's causing this catastrophe?
You have to look outside of the Earth, right?
Okay.
You have to really take some of the data from the other planets and look at the other planets to see if they have had weather anomalies on the other planets, temperature anomalies, if they've had any type of incline in trending to their temperatures. For example, certain planets, their temperature rose about 400 degrees above what it usually is.
Insane. That's just wrong. I mean, that's just crazy is what I'm trying to say. That's just insane.
And what that means is once you secure that data, I mean, really get some good, not this public stuff, not this, this political data that people use for different causes, but you have to really look at the data and get some true data and see these spikes, see these averages. Then you'll know that all the planets are being affected, right? In some way, all the planets are being affected. Once you find out all the planets are affected, it is not indigenous to Earth. It is the entire solar system. Because our weather phenomena, is it not changing?
Oh, yeah.
In conjunction with the sun. Folks, we see changes in the sun. We see changes in the weather phenomena here.
Folks, what Mike's
sun.
What Mike's telling you, you see where I'm saying I'm doing this blast from the past for your love gift of $100 or more. I want to give you 5 full webinars. One of these webinars I'm going to give you is what's called Planet X, What's Next? And another one of those 5 was called Apocalyptic Signs. And Mike's in every one of these 5, okay? You go back, you get these 5. Let me send them to you. And you listen to all the different people, Steve Quayle and L.A. Marzulli and all the different people. But listen to Mike's all 5 times that he spoke in these webinars, especially Planet X, What's Next, and Apocalyptic Signs. You will hear Mike explain to you 5 years ago what was coming. And then you're gonna fall out of your seat because what Mike talked about 5 years ago on those webinars are happening and beyond. It's exceeded past that, Mike. It's beyond what you said. I mean, this is for one hand, you're right. You tell us about how the oceans are heating up, but on the other hand, it's bitter cold and how people are going to survive. Both things are happening: dry and wet, heat and cold. Talk about that.
Yeah, back to this conversation. The planet, right? Our planet is subject to the changes in solar dynamics.
Okay, so how about the sun?
And as the Earth itself generates heat. It generates heat. But the sun augments whatever heat we have, the sun is going to increase that. And for the other planets, likewise. Now, all of us know that on a very hot day in the desert, where the sun is very direct, if you're standing in the shade, it is very cold, sometimes 30 degrees.
Yeah.
And if you step in the sun, there can be a 70-degree difference between the shade and the heat, right? In the Middle East, for example, many of soldiers have seen snow flurries. At the same time, maybe 200-300 yards in front of you, right? Soldiers are sweating to death because it's 85 degrees. Now think about that. So 85 degrees in the sun, snowing in the shade, right? You get those conditions. That comes from direct sunlight. So as the sun continues to change, the radiant energy from the sun will be direct, just like that over the whole earth. That means areas in shade and shadow are going to be bitter cold. Areas in the heated portions are going to be hot, right? That's going to cause a water displacement like no other, because the water is going to try to thaw and freeze at the exact same time. That causes weight instabilities, warpage. If it does that to the whole planet, which it will, it's going to alter the rotation of our Earth. Now, before anybody says, well, that can't happen, China built a dam, and that dam altered the axis of the Earth. Okay, so there you are. Water, the water on the Earth, which constitutes, by the way, the majority of the Earth. Any change in that water flow can alter the Earth's axis,
causing the Earth to wobble.
That's right. So imagine 1/4 of the water beginning to freeze and slow down, and the other portion of the water is highly active, churning, right? New patterns or vortices forming in the ocean. That's going to cause too much more motion, and then it abruptly changes as the day changes. And then you have another portion of the water in bitter cold, right? And all of that moisture is condensing, hitting in parts of the planet. This will cause a weight distribution. In physics, all that weight has to be accounted for. It's just going to shift across the face of the Earth. And that will begin to cause other problems, right? That will lead up to the water event.
Wow.
What I'm calling the water event. Oh, and by the way, it's already that process on a very small scale, but it's increasing rapidly. It's already begun. That process is beginning. So there will come a day very soon when people wake up and their new clean-cut front yard is going to look like the sky because it's going to be covered with water.
Because a water event that's going to affect certain, and again, it's hard to predict exactly where these events are going to happen, but they're going to happen in multiple locations. The coastal areas, you would say, run a risk. Would you?
And that'll be, once this water event hits, that'll be the max point at which our atmosphere was able to hold moisture. It's also going to be the time when we have the clouds, right? Cloud disbursement, the process of the clouds, all that's going to change. This will be followed by dryness. So there's a good chance we won't see rain for it could be a whole year. We won't see rain. Nobody will see rain for about a whole year. Think about that. So after it hits this max point where we have that water event, all cloud structures will have changed. The atmospheric pressures will have changed, right? And then after that point, dryness will be everywhere. The water is going to be in the oceans, but there's going to be no water anywhere else.
Because there's a change in atmospheric.
That's right. The atmosphere it'll be churned so badly, Pastor Paul, that cloud formation, the clouds will simply dissipate, right? We also have another effect happening right now. We have chaotic regions of our magnetosphere that keep forming in random places. And it's building up also. This will also dry out the atmosphere. Right? So with all these conditions, we're going to have a very dry atmosphere after this water event. It's a potential. I mean, it could be 13 years before anybody sees an inch of rain anywhere.
I mean, this is just unbelievable information to understand. But when you understand what's happening to the other planets because of what's happening to our sun, and of course, we could talk about why is our sun reacting the way it is. Well, we've talked about a binary system.
That's external. Yep.
It's external, right?
Yep.
It's beyond.
I believe we're in a binary system, Pastor Paul.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
In a binary system. A lot of people call what could be in the binary system, what Zachariah Ascension called it. Some of the folks in other organizations, they simply think it's a binary star. You have some these folks who own some of these optics that look out deep in space. They're tracking some of the energy left over by a secondary star. You have some people that think we have 3 suns, Jupiter being the remnants of one of them.
Right.
I've due heard, to its chemical nature. Oh, and by the way, Jupiter is, well, I can't even talk about Jupiter. Let's just say that probably in the near future, everybody's minds will be blown, and they'll find out that they made a mistake with Jupiter.
Well, now I have heard, and I don't want to put anybody on the spot, I have heard, though, BP Earthwatch say that Jupiter could be our twin, at least for the standpoint of size, to keep balance with the sun, and that the third object is what we could call it Planet X. We can call it whatever you want to call it. We could say it's a moon from Planet X. Maybe you call it Nibiru. We got all these different names, but that this third object coming in is what's disrupting the balance of our universe. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, or if Jupiter just has its own deal, and that this third object, we'll call it, is actually the binary twin of our sun, or is it just a foreign object so big that it's disrupting everything? I mean, that's 3 options to talk about there.
Yeah. Well, also, every planet in the solar system, and if a person is a evolutionist, sorry about this, but every planet in the solar system is purposed, right?
Yes, I agree.
It seems like it's purposed for Earth.
Yes.
That's what it seems like it's purposed for, because each planet adds a sustaining dynamic to the Earth, right? Each one is important. By the way, we have remnants on this planet of just about every other thing out there. So it's almost like our solar system is like one big uniformed, I guess, machine that keeps life on Earth. But it is quite amazing that life is sustained here on Earth and has not changed for a very long time.
Right.
And we're essentially a big rock floating out in space. But men make mistakes, and they have ideas and theories that simply don't pan out. Could Jupiter be, the twin of Earth? I mean, it could be. We don't know that it's not. Nobody really knows that it's not. God knows, we don't know. But there is a weight problem with our solar system. Okay. There is a mass problem with our solar system. And 90% of the mass that's supposed to be in our solar system is not in the solar system.
Then where is it, Mike?
That's right. Now, we're talking about mass by way of inertia, by way of some other things. So it is just not in the solar system. If you look at some of the celestial mechanics of how they calculate orbits and trajectories and everything, all of it's adjusted, right? Because of something that should be there, but it's not. Something is tugging at everything going in specific directions. They have correction formulas that go in a spacecraft in the calculations of the trajectories of spacecraft that will correct their trajectories, giving account for a tug or a pull.
Yes.
Always in the same spot. The axis of the Earth points to something very interesting. And it always has. And it never deviates from what it's pointing at. But the Earth is not the only thing affected by this location.
Everything's being affected. I mean,
and it's so bad that they have cut off, right? It's very difficult for a person to get direct observation because it's off limits. These areas are either at war all the time, or they're simply off limits. You can't get there. The average person cannot get there. And, to observe it. But yeah, I believe there's an external body. I personally believe that some of the stories in history are not exactly the star coming by itself, right?
Yeah.
But just like our solar system, we have planets in it. Right?
Yes.
And our planets, if two solar systems begin to pass each other, then some of the more distant objects could intrude into other parts of that solar system.
Yes.
And given some of these historical writings that are out there, I believe that constitutes, or that makes up for some of that. Right? Like, for example, an object that people saw pass in the atmosphere that exchanged lightning from it to the earth, purple lightning from it to the earth, gases that would come off of one body coming to the earth, and nobody could breathe. That was left outside, right? Poisonous gases that would do that. All these different stories seem to tell the exact same thing, that there's a body that passes within our solar system, and somehow it exchanges material with Earth or disrupts Earth in some sort of way. And there's a lot of debris with this other passing system. Now, in real observations, they have seen it in a binary system. When one star is in proximity to the other, whatever star is the brightest star, is some of the material immediately starts to flow towards the other star, the colder star, as though it recharges or feeds off the atmosphere of the yellow or white or whatever the star color is. They have seen this observation. If that happens to us, we're not going to have light for a number of days, because all the photons are going to be redirected towards the other stars that passes by.
Now, Immanuel Velikovsky, who also, again, these are theories, and he wrote his book called Worlds in Collision in the 1950s, and I've read a significant amount of it, and of course Zacharias Sitchin. They have different theories, but Immanuel Velikovsky did believe, as you just said, that there were two solar systems that were passing by each other, and that there was going to be an object that was going to invade, and not to invade, but come into our solar system, and maybe Pluto goes into theirs. I don't know, but the thing is, this object, according to Avi Loeb, that our entire solar system is on a gravitational pull in the exact same location, at the exact same degree, that mathematically, there has to be, okay, and that's what he says. Of course, he hasn't got access to all the tools I think that you do, but he has enough of them. He's seen enough information to know there's something out there that's causing this. But I'm asking this question from a pastor's standpoint: is all of this in the perfect timing of the coming of Jesus Christ? I mean, is that why Christ said, "Hey, when I come, the heavens are going to be shaken, the earth's going to be quaking"? I mean, things are going to be falling apart, and people are going to be in just as bad a shape as the earth itself, I think, which has been your point many times over. Mike, your thoughts?
They will. And Revelation gives us a big insight into that. There's that specific part in Revelation, in the right before the Abaddon is released, right?
Yes.
Before Abaddon is released. In Revelation, it says that a third part of the moon is smitten.
Yep.
And a third part of the sun is smitten, and a third part of the sky, right?
Yes.
And only a third part of the day shown for, that. Okay, that's impossible, first of all. You can't have a third part of the sun missing. What you can have is something that's positioned between the earth and everything else. If it's in close proximity, right?
Yep.
And it's blocking out a part of the
Stars.
sun. And it blocks off a part of the sky. So as a part of the stars are missing, that means it's part outside of our atmosphere. That's, if you do the simulations, if you do the mathematics, you can get the distance of this object. You can get the size of this object, Pastor. And then it says right after that, the key to the bottomless pit is an angel opens up the pit right after that. So it's as if something comes positions itself right there beside us, and it blocks off a third part of everything. And then all of a sudden, the bottomless pit is open. And it says, when it says smoke comes out of the pit, well, if something were that close and that big, based on the mathematics, by revelation, it will cause earth eruptions like we've never seen before on this earth. It will cause earthquakes all over the place. And so smoke would fill the sky if this happens, right? Well, it's going to happen according to Revelation. And that is one of the biggest proofs. I'm going to call it a proof. That's one of the biggest proofs I've ever seen in Revelation, something that can be calculated.
Yep.
Right? This thing is enormous, and if you go even further to try and get the mass of this thing is not tiny. This thing is huge. This thing is big.
So we
right?
can basically take Revelation. If we take those statistics, we could figure out how big it is and how close it will be.
How close it will be, and the mass of it. You can get a pretty good assumption of the mass of the object.
There's no way when this thing comes into view, it's too late. The old saying is, it's too late to pray now.
Right.
All right, I mean, that's right. But basically, this is what Jesus meant: that the heavens will be shaken, that the earth will reel and rock like a drunkard. There'll be earthquakes, massive earthquakes in different places, and men's hearts will fail them for fear, for looking after those things coming up on the earth. For the powers of heaven will be shaken. And we're going to see the Son of Man coming. I mean, with the clouds, it says, with power and great glory. Now, I don't know exactly the timing on each one of those components. That could be over a period of a day, or a period of 18 months, or a period of 18 seconds. I mean, really, I can't answer that. Can you, Mike? Can you?
No, I can say this. Jesus said, he said the world is not going to know. Right?
Yeah,
that's what he said. He said the world's not going to know. That time is going to take them like a thief in the night.
So it's quick.
Like the days of Noah were. They knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So if the world does not know, then any calculation they make is not right. Maybe that's why they've not been right since. Right? They've just not been right. Well, that means it's not going to be something within the realm of our expectation.
Well, maybe, Mike,
there's another.
They don't.
Go ahead.
Well, 1 second, and don't lose your thought. There's another reason they may not be able to calculate, because they won't look at the Bible and say, well, what does the Holy Scripture say? And then let's go and let's back that out with the calculation.
They're not going to do that.
They're never going to know.
They're not going to. And if they don't know, that means then anything they will attempt is just not going to cut it. It also lets us know, because we know there are going to be some scientists out there, some pretty good ones, trying to save face and trying to be number one and give their best calculations. Some of them love their families. They're going to be sincere. They're just going to be wrong, which means whatever conclusion they come out with is not going to be the right conclusion. Global warming, they say, is caused by human beings, right? I don't think so.
No.
Right? No. Because other planets wouldn't have global warming, and the sun would not, it wouldn't change. At the same time, we're having this global warming effect. Do we have an effect on climate? Sure we do. But I have to remind everybody, why is it that meteorites can fall into the earth just to kill everything, and the earth just self-repairs? The earth can self-repair.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We've had volcanic eruptions. We've had floods that cover the entire earth. We've had civilizations rise and fall. And here it is, which means the earth can self-repair. But we can't. How are we going to hurt the earth?
We can't hurt
way.
Well,
we can
anyway,
do it with
why
nuclear
is these other planets
and kill life?
Yeah, why are these other planets heating up? There's no global. There's no smokestacks there.
Exactly.
Nobody drilling oil there. So I mean, it's a ridiculous argument. It's absolutely Al Gore started it. Yeah, he inconvenient truth.
Go back in 2004 and you'll find out all this began with a magnetar. They got scared. They were scared because a magnetar had blown up 11 million light years before. It took off a part of the atmosphere. That is the day part of the ozone was stripped, or part of our atmosphere was stripped off. About 78 men died instantly from microwave radiation, from the absence of the atmosphere, and some other ones were burned. And They didn't want to, they had an emergency meeting that night. The next day, the entire week, they gave trillions into this cause because they were trying to mitigate the effects of a magnetar. It's one of the scariest things people begin to learn about, and there's nothing we can do about it. These things blew up millions of years ago, and they just haven't gotten to us yet. They know that there are 3 more that we're going to have to face. They know this, and there's nothing they can do about it. If that magnetar had been positioned possibly maybe 2 inches lower than what it was, just 2 inches, the Earth's atmosphere would have been blown off.
Wow.
So think of something, Pastor Paul, no bigger than your house.
Right.
That has the mass of about, like 12 stars, right? 12 of our suns.
Wow.
But it's no bigger than your house. It's that dense. And a 1 inch by 1 inch cube of it, right, shifted, causing a magnetar that traveled 11 million, light years. That's just a lot of stuff, right? And they know that more have blown. They have neutrino detectors that they have utilized. Those neutrino detectors were going off like crazy in 1996, 1999, I believe it was, 2002. And I believe that Japan's neutrino detector has gone off a few times this year. They indicate massive activity in our atmosphere. So whatever's coming, there's nothing we can do about it. The indications are already there. Supernovae and everything else that's blown up out there and is coming our way.
Mike, this is incredible information, but I'm glad we're having this tonight. And guys, I'm telling you, this means that the signs of the last days are upon us. They're the days of the Bible, where Christ said soon he would come. When the fig tree, when he said the stars would fall out of the heavens, or meteorites and stuff would start falling, like a fig tree casting its untimely figs. And I think, Mike, what you're sharing with us tonight, this is some of the best stuff, explanation to what's been going on with our planet and why billionaires are building incredible underground, elaborate bunker systems, and nations are building cities underground to try to survive the apocalypse. The apocalypse that they know is coming.
Yeah.
And the populace.
And they're gonna rearrange the world to protect themselves.
Yeah. And it's not gonna work.
So look, in what was that, Pastor Paul? I think it was on your show in 2019. I said this. I said, when you see people and they seem not to care about what they're doing, that means they're making preparations. They already have the news, and they know what the future holds, and they're getting prepared themselves. So when we see people come in that are not serious about the people, right?
Yeah.
Then we know what's happening. Because I do believe they will eventually abandon people topside, when the trouble comes. But we're going to have clear indications that we're in trouble. We will. And I believe those indications have already begun.
Mike, this has been a great show, and I really appreciate taking the time. This really explains the things that's happening right now and how it relates to the Bible, so that people can prepare themselves to get your soul right with God, get your families looking toward the Lord, start doing the right things, and be prepared, and don't be shocked by anything you see, because there's an explanation. It's in the Word of God. So, Mike, I just want to thank you for taking the time to be with us again tonight. Really do.
My honor, Pastor Paul. My honor.
The honor's mine. Thank you so much, my brother. God bless.
All right.